Why don't Chabad chassidim sleep in the sukkah?
Sleeping is an inactivity. Sleeping is downtime. How can you have downtime inside a mitzvah? How can you sleep inside? How can you be non-productive in a mitzvah environment? You live in your home. Your home is also part of the Eibishter's world. But you don't sleep in a shul. It's not ideal to sleep. You don't want to sleep in a holy place. Or how could you sleep in a holy place? The sukkah is a holy place. Specifically, its holiness comes from Madrega Makif and the Bina. How can you be in such a holy environment and be inactive? This is the middle episode. Makif. How can you sleep Makif and the Bina? So, of course, the retort to that, the counter to that is, okay, so the Mittler Rebbe couldn't sleep in a sukkah, but you seem to have no trouble sleeping in a sukkah, so why shouldn't you? Which is a logical argument. The Mittler Rebbe Nebach, because he was such a big tzaddik, and he felt the alakus of a sukkah, can't sleep in a mitzvah. Bechlal, how much sleep do you think the Mittler Rebbe had altogether? But people who could sleep in the sukkah should sleep in the sukkah. So there are a number of steps to how the Rebbe develops the answer. The first, of course, is I did enough in Puma de Rav Kana. That since the Mittler Rebbe has the shaykhis to us, he's our Rebbe. So there's a concept where you do what your Rebbe says, even if it's second best. And they bring the proof from the Hadas Shaita, right? There's a whole question whether a Hadas is kosher if it doesn't have the 3 leaves in the same spot on the stalk. And Avkana was Mekel, Avkana was lenient. He said a Hadas doesn't have to have the 3 leaves in every pot. So they could be off, staggered. So the Talmidim of Rav Kana were mahaded, went out of the way to get a worse hadas. Now, even according to Rav Kana, hadas which is meshulish is better than one which isn't. But I did the nafik mipuma de Rav Kana. Since their Rebbe did it, they went out of the way to do like their Rebbe, even though what their Rebbe is saying is, even according to the opinion of their Rebbe, only a b'diyev. So the Rebbe brings that idea that since the Mittler Rebbe said it, we're mahadir to do like the Mittler Rebbe, even though it's the opposite of a hiddur, even according to the Mittler Rebbe. But then the Rebbe goes deeper. And the Rebbe goes into the concept of mitztayir. That one of the reasons a person is patah from a sukkah, if sleeping in a sukkah is going to cause him pain, if you're uncomfortable. And the Rebbe argues that when a person sleeps in the sukkah, and he's not margish the makif and the bina, he has tzar from the fact that he's not margish the makif and the bina. In other words, the Mittler Rebbe said, I can't sleep in a sukkah. How could you sleep in a mitzvah? How can you lay your head down and go to sleep inside a mitzvah? It's impossible. So the chassid lays down and sleeps no problem, and he thinks to himself, well, how come I don't feel what my Rebbe feels? And that creates a mitzvah, that you're not comfortable sleeping in the sukkah. And that makes it halachically permitted not to sleep in the sukkah, so you shouldn't experience the tzar of the sukkah. In other words, you're experiencing the tzar of not experiencing the tzar of sleeping in the sukkah, and that's the tzar which causes that you shouldn't sleep in the sukkah. This is what the Rebbe explains in the Sikha about not sleeping in the sukkah. And again, the basic idea is the idea that a person sleeps in a mitzvah is a really weird concept. And let me so to speak broaden it a little bit. Where is it easier to be holy? When you're davening and learning, or eating and sleeping? Now the spontaneous, the knee-jerk response would be, of course it's harder to be holy and davening and learning than eating and sleeping. But the opposite is true. It's much easier to daven like a yid, than learn like a yid, than eat like a yid, than sleep like a yid. Because when it comes to those things which we have in common with non-Jews, there's something much more difficult about being a yid when you do worldly things than being a yid and you're doing holy things. So you sleep in a sukkah. How can you sleep? How holy must your sleep be that you could sleep in the sukkah? That's the concept. In other words, the sleeping in the sukkah is not a sack of potatoes laying in a sukkah. It's a yid who is in such a high madrega that even his sleeping are a mitzvah. And that's where the mitzvah comes in. I can learn in a sukkah like a yid. I'm not so sure I can eat in a sukkah like a yid, but I certainly can't sleep in a sukkah like a yid. So it's I'm physically, in other words, technically, bechitzonius, at a nigel level, I'm fulfilling the mitzvah of a sukkah teishu shivas yamim teishu kein taduru, that everything, the Rambam writes, everything I would do in my home, I now do in my sukkah. But it's a mitzvah. It's not just a moving from one location to another, it's a mitzvah. And if it's a mitzvah, there has to be a holiness into every activity, including the sleeping, and this is very difficult. And therefore there's a mitztayer, and there's a mitztayer from the lack of the mitztayer, and that's why you put them sleeping in a sukkah. And I just want to point out that when the Rebbe spoke about this, there's of course a film of the Rebbe speaking to a Litvish yeshiva, who supposedly came to the Rebbe to try and find an answer that would dispel the objection that certain people had to Lubavitch because we're not sleeping in a sukkah. And of course the point the Rebbe made was, there's no point in me answering the question because whatever I say is no good. You need to answer the question. And the second point that Rebbe made is, it's not a new idea not sleeping in a sukkah. It wasn't invented today or yesterday. Many communities of Jews have not slept in sukkahs for 100 years, including Bells. And no one seems to have a problem with them. So the people who ask the question, why doesn't Lubavitch sleep in the sukkah? If you want to have an answer, you have an answer. If you want to have a question, why don't you ask that question and all the others who don't sleep in a sukkah that you seem to have no problem with?